There are people on social media who will get angry at anything, and in 2021, only certain jokes are allowed, or else you're going to face the wrath of cancel culture vultures. And over the past week, since The Closer released on Netflix, Dave Chappelle has been facing a lot of backlash from people trying to cancel him over his style of humor. And I wanted to talk about a few different situations here because Netflix's CEO is actually defending him in his content, and there are a lot of actors attacking him, calling for his cancellation. But before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month, or supporting via memberships. All of the links are in the description, and of course, I do really appreciate all of the support. So I'm going to start off with this Bounding into Comics article. It says Star Trek Discovery actor Wilson Cruz claims Dave Chappelle comedy special is responsible for real-world violence, which is absolutely ridiculous. It says the Discovery actor Wilson Cruz recently claimed that the latest Dave Chappelle comedy special on Netflix, The Closer, is responsible for violence. Cruz, who plays Dr. Hugh Culber on Star Trek Discovery, took to Twitter where he reacted to an article from The Hollywood Reporter. Of course, he's going on social media trying to gain attention from this. Star Trek Discovery definitely doesn't have the best reputation, and I bet he's feeling a little bit desperate for attention. So the post says, is this how you're celebrating hashtag National Coming Out Day at We Are Netflix? Celebrating the violence your content is responsible for and canceling your hashtag trans employee for speaking her truth and standing up for our community. Now, first of all, I really dislike when people do this. Hashtag National Coming Out Day, hashtag Netflix, hashtag trans. We get it. You really want those clicks, so you're trying to put all these hashtags into your tweet so they pop up in other search results. I understand. But at the same time, I really dislike when people do that. It's a little bit obnoxious when half of the words in this are hashtag, 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 but people like this are taking this whole situation with this employee and kind of spinning it to fit their own narrative, because The Hollywood Reporter said Netflix suspends trans employee who spoke out against Chappelle, basically framing it as, oh, they got suspended because they went on Twitter and social media and got upset and voiced their distaste for Chappelle, which isn't actually the case. It says, the Hollywood Reporter's Alex Werpin claims a source said that the employees, including an engineer whose Twitter thread about the special went viral, were suspended for attempting to join a quarterly meeting meant only for directors or vice presidents and not because of Field's tweets. This is what these types of people do. They take a situation and they run with it. They try to twist it to fit their own narratives, and that's what they've done here. They weren't suspending for having a different opinion or having a negative opinion on Chappelle. They are allowed to dislike Chappelle if they want, but they tried to join a quarterly meeting that they weren't invited to. They tried to join a meeting for directors and vice presidents. And of course, not included in the article is Field's lengthy Twitter thread criticizing the special and Chappelle and accusing Netflix of encouraging violence. Now, this person is allowed to have their own thoughts, they're allowed to have their own opinions that they want to put on social media, but basically saying Chappelle's special is causing violence in the real world is absolutely freaking ridiculous, at least in my opinion. It's like people that say video games cause violence. Where's the link? Where is the link to Dave Chappelle's special and violence against trans people? I would love to see the statistics, but they don't exist. It says, I work at Netflix. Yesterday, we launched another Chappelle special where he attacks the trans community and the very validity of transness, all while trying to pit us against other marginalized groups. You're going to hear a lot of talk about offense. We are not offended. Being trans is actually pretty funny. If you're someone who actually knows about the subject matter, how could volunteering for a second puberty not be funny? That isn't what he's doing though. Our existence is funny to him, and when we object to his harm, we're offended. There are ways to voice on things like social media when you're upset about a situation. You could go on Twitter and say F Dave Chappelle and just move on. You're allowed to say that and then move past the situation, but instead they made this Twitter thread that goes on and on and on. I mean, it is extremely long, and clearly they're pretty upset by it, even though they try to say that they're not offended by it or not upset by it. They said the problem is that people are responding to something we never said. We aren't complaining about being offended and we don't have thin skin. You try going to a pharmacy and having them call you sir in front of everyone while picking up your medications. Thin skin. What we object to is the harm that this content does to the trans community, and very specifically black trans women. People who look like me aren't being killed. I'm a white woman. I get to worry about Starbucks writing Tara on my drink. Promoting TERF ideology directly harms trans people, and it is not some neutral act. Now, Dave Chappelle didn't get up on a stage and call for people to be attacked. He didn't promote TERF ideology. He referenced TERF ideology, and he talked about like the J.K. Rowling situation and how people have tried to cancel her over the years, but he didn't get up on stage and call for violence against certain people. I just don't understand why these people are still complaining. I mean, this is his brand. He makes the jokes he does for a certain audience, and people know that's his brand and the types of humor he provides to people. He's had plenty of other specials on Netflix, and if you don't like his type of comedy, don't watch it. These types of people literally say things like this. If you don't like it, don't watch it, and they don't follow their own advice. Trying to cancel him hasn't worked, so why would it now? He says mean, dark things about everyone. He takes these topics and runs with them, and it works for him. If you look at Dave Chappelle, there's not a lot of comedians like him anymore because they're all afraid of being canceled, and I don't blame people for wanting to keep their careers intact, and I don't blame them for not wanting to be canceled, but at the same time, they're afraid of being canceled, they're afraid of their careers being ruined, and he's one of the only people left that will actually make jokes like this. So scrolling down, it says a memo from Netflix's CEO is also included in the article, and the memo declares that Chappelle's special does not meet the company's definition of hate. He wrote, several of you have also asked where we draw the line on hate, and we don't allow titles on Netflix that are designed to incite hate or violence, and we don't believe the closer cross that line. And I agree. I don't think that it incited hate or violence. Yes, it did make some pretty offensive jokes, but at the same time, they're jokes, and people like listening to these jokes, and it's not like people are going out saying, hey, you need to attack this type of person and that type of person, and Dave Chappelle said so. It says, I recognize, however, that distinguishing between commentary and harm is hard, especially with stand-up comedy which exists to push boundaries. And it's true, stand-up comedy has always existed to push boundaries, and people are only realizing that now. I don't understand why. Some people find the art of stand-up to be mean-spirited, but our members enjoy it, and it's an important part of, our content and what we have to offer. And again, I agree with this. I don't think that this is a bad statement. Again, they're just saying that, this exists to push boundaries. No one's calling directly for hate or inciting violence, and there are people that like it. And clearly, there are a lot of people that like Dave Chappelle, because if we go over to Rotten Tomatoes, the critics definitely are not a big fan of this special. It's sitting at a 43% critic review, but the audience score is absolutely fantastic for The Closer right now. It is sitting at a 97%. I wanted to read just a couple of the reviews. People saying things like Chappelle being Chappelle. Dave is, as always, a funny guy. Cry more. Dave nails it again. Clearly, Netflix sees a lot of positive reviews coming out of this, and they see that The Closer has been in the top 3 on Netflix trending ever since the show came out. A lot of people are really enjoying it, and if you enjoy this type of comedy, I don't think you're an awful person. I don't think you're a terrible person. Again, is it for everyone? No, but there are people who watch this who just want to enjoy their time with it and who aren't looking too deeply into it and aren't offended by everything, okay? We don't need to cancel people just because they make a couple of slightly offensive jokes. Jokes that Chappelle tells in this are definitely ones a lot of people won't like, but you're allowed to dislike them. But at the end of the day, he's just a comedian trying to make people laugh. And sometimes people like dark and offensive jokes, and he's not the only comedian to ever say these things. The jokes he makes in this aren't new. He makes those jokes all of the time, and he makes them to go against the SJWs. They want everything to be politically correct, and it works. These jokes get him massive attention, his shows are always selling out, and a lot of people really like him. But that's all that I had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.